I died from a stroke and met my spiritual guide. The near-death experience of Bryan. What if everything you thought you knew about reality was wrong? What if your body is just a temporary shell and the real you has lived thousands of lifetimes? What if you could remember your mission on Earth even after death? My name is Bryan, and on July 9th, 2018, I died from a massive stroke in a hospital emergency room. What happened next changed everything I thought I knew about life, death, and why we're here. This is my near-death experience, the life before. I need to give you some context about who I was before I died, because it matters to understanding what happened. I was raised by my atheist, militant father. My birth mother wasn't around much, and when she was, things were difficult. But when I was 7, my dad married Nancy, an incredible woman who opened my mind to the spiritual side of life. She taught me about meditation, reincarnation, astral projection, and the powers of the mind. She showed me there was more to this world than what we can see and touch. By my teens, I was experimenting with lucid dreaming, trying to see auras, reaching out to spirit guides. I was fascinated by all of it. But then life happened: teenage rebellion, family stress, working night shifts in high school just to pay rent. I started losing my spiritual way. At 18, after learning the man who raised me wasn't my biological father, I fell into a deep depression I needed to escape. So when I randomly ended up at a Grateful Dead concert and got invited to jam with some hippies in a tent, I didn't think twice. I left everything behind and went on the road with them. For months, I traveled and learned from Buddhist monks, Sufis, Hindus, Rastafarians, Native American medicine people. It changed me. The angry fighting teen I had become evolved into someone with a fresh perspective. I found my spiritual path again. But flash forward to my early 40s, and I had lost my way again. Completely. The machine. I was trapped in the corporate grind, sales jobs, 10-hour days at a computer. I had gained almost 90 pounds. My diet was pizza, burgers, tacos, bacon, and donuts. I was slamming 32 ounces of coffee and Mountain Dew during the day, then chugging 1 to 3 Red Bulls at night just to stay awake. I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I was also moonlighting as a security guard at a bar on weeknights and weekends, so my sleep schedule was destroyed. I had almost zero connection with nature. Everything about my lifestyle was toxic. Physically, mentally, and spiritually, I was toast. All the ingredients for a severe stroke or heart attack were right there in my face and in my arteries. Stroke day. On July 9th, 2018, I was chomping down on an extra-large chicken, bacon, onion, and barbecue pizza while chugging a 2-liter bottle of Sierra Mist. Halfway through eating, a sharp pain hit me in the lower right side under my ribs. I was getting increasingly lightheaded and dizzy. Breathing was getting more difficult by the minute. After an hour, I asked my now ex-wife to take me to the hospital. Reluctantly, she did, while laughing it off as indigestion. I got out of the car and walked inside the hospital as she drove off. She left me at the emergency room entrance gasping for breath. I was alone and scared. Something big wasn't coming. It was here. I staggered into the hospital. At this point, the tunnel vision was so bad that I could hardly see 4 feet in front of me. I could hear my heartbeat intensely thundering within my eardrums. The whole world was fading away quickly. I had to focus very hard to walk see, and think. I had crazy ringing in my ears. My vision was like looking through a paper towel tube. My legs felt like I was walking in thick mud. This felt way worse than passing out. I was so very weak. I glanced to my left. I knew I had no time to fill out paperwork at the main desk. To my right, I noticed a male nurse pushing a gurney bed on wheels. That's what I need, I thought, a hospital bed and a nurse. All I could muster myself to do was lift my left hand, slightly point to him, and try to say help. But my mouth only uttered some gibberish that sounded like Boedemug as my body collapsed onto the floor. The rib. At that moment, I felt what I can only describe as a rip or a tear. I felt like my whole body had been greatly shaken and almost electrified in that instant. I felt forcefully pulled from my body, much like how Dr. Strange's soul was punched from his body in that movie, if you've seen it. I saw my soul self leave my physical self. I was now watching the back of my head and then my body fall forward and hit the floor as I looked down at myself, but without any eyes. The sound happening at this moment was so odd, almost like a sheet of Velcro being ripped slowly from itself over about 8 seconds. But it also had a pulsating, very strong, low, intense, grinding, vibrational sound. From there, the male nurse that I was trying to seek help from came to my body's aid and started trying to revive me. I could see everything happening around me in spherical, 360-degree vision. I realized that I was astral, but like never before. I had been astral a couple of times before as a youth, but this was quite a bit different. I realized that the normal cord that attaches your physical body to your astral body was not there anymore. Panic. My mind, without a brain or body, was racing 1,000 thoughts in these first few moments. I felt panic, regret, then more panic. I thought, oh no, I'm dead. I felt like I said it aloud, but I had no mouth to do so. How can I see with no eyes? I thought, I'm all energy now. Where are my hands? How am I interpreting the spectrum of light with my consciousness and not my brain or eyes? How can I hear with no ears? How am I interpreting vibration into sound with my light body, my soul body somehow? I couldn't actually hear the nurses talking, yet I could feel them speaking right where my chest used to be. I could feel every vibration in this area. I could feel the molecular consistency of everything if I focused enough on it. I could sense the hard coolness of metal and the looser pores in things that were plastic. I knew the very consistency of the nurses and other people's clothes. What? The knowing. I also quickly understood something that reaches into the far crevices of who and what I am as a spirit. I immediately knew that I had been in this form many times before. I knew that the Bryan body was just temporary, and that in this form, I was the real me. This feeling or knowing was stronger than any deja vu feeling I've ever had before. There was this strong knowing feeling happening at this point. I started thinking, I need to go back. I need to finish my mission on Earth as Bryan. Wait, what is my mission exactly? I tried to recall, to no avail. I hadn't ever remembered any sort of mission in Bryan form. But quickly, the desire to finish some sort of incomplete mission was becoming extremely important to me as a spirit. I was so saddened and distraught by this thought. I still yearn to know to this day Why can't I remember the details of my important mission? The entity. Panic ensued for only a few more seconds as I watched the nurse and others pick up my body, put my shell onto the rolling bed, and get started working on me from above. Everything then changed yet again. The intense worries and fears of dying and not being in my body, along with my incomplete mission, were subsiding as quickly as they came. I can only describe at this point as the most loving, familiar energy washed over me. It completely realigned my attention. It was stronger and better than a warm embrace from a grandmother as she reads you your favorite story while you eat freshly homemade cookies and pet a puppy. I instantly calmed down, and I felt so very, very loved. Where is this coming from? I thought to myself, almost scanning the room for an answer. There is now an obvious entity directly to my right, another brighter spirit, and it is smiling at me like an old friend that I have not seen in ages. Although I didn't fully recognize it as you would know the face of an old friend, I feel now like it had been there this whole time that I was out of my body, but I hadn't noticed it until right then. Something in me felt that it had possibly been at my side for my whole 43 years as Bryan. I know this entity somehow. After some investigating in my memories, it was a combination of things. My higher self, an ancestor, partially my guardian angel, and also God, higher power, all wrapped into one, yet only a fraction of each. It's hard to explain. Looking at it with my non-existent eyes, I could see rays of gold light emanating from it. Its light body was stronger, cleaner, and much brighter than my light as a spirit body at the time. It spoke to me telepathically because I had no ears to hear it with. The voice soothingly boomed into my mind, my consciousness, my spirit, and told me, "You're okay. You have some time. Everything will be okay. You will be fine. You have some time. Let's go for a walk and chat." My panic completely subsided. The warmth and love took over and enveloped me. I know this entity. I've known this entity for eons. It was smiling, yet it was a light body and mainly featureless. The white room. As we walked, we went into what I can only describe as a room that closely resembled the same room that Neo and Morpheus were in during the Matrix. It was a very bright white gold room, yet it had no sense of walls either. The entity, my guide, my old friend, was so happy to see me, and it had this mischievous smile. It asked me without actual words, "So, you have some questions, I see. Go ahead and ask." It can hear my thoughts, too. This is telepathy. Playfully with glee, it stared at me, waiting. The questions. "Are you God?" I asked. It replied, "Always." Yet this answer, I could tell, was not entirely complete. "Are you also Jesus?" I inquired respectfully and innocently. It smiled playfully. "Sometimes," it stated, grinning at me much like I was guessing what I was getting for Christmas or something. Almost a game. I paused and thought. I could tell it knew what I was thinking already, but I asked aloud, telepathically anyway, "Are you also Buddha?" I could feel its joyous peace before it even answered. It replied, "Also, yes, of course, great question." I was now getting it. "You are also Krishna and Allah, aren't you?" It replied, "And more. Ha! You are remembering quickly this time," smiling even more playfully. the realization. It all clicked for me right then. Something opened inside of me, and I had another set of epiphanies in these mere moments. I knew then that there is a reason that I, in this lifetime, became an omnist, someone who studies and respects all religions. I have taken my time to try and understand as many beliefs as I can in my time on earth thus far for a reason. This is why I am seeing the entity as all of the above. We had been here in this realm, dimension, plane, hundreds of thousands of times. Also, I now feel that I know that we choose not to remember these things in a human form, so as not to have any advantage over all others while in body form. I felt that it is part of some of our destinies to realize this as we ascend a spiritual path in human form. The download. Every question about almost every notable moment in my life, I questioned and received answers. Had I made the right decisions in life? Was I a good person? Things that I thought I had learned, I was corrected on. Paragraphs of questions emanated from me, and as fast as I could ask, I was being answered, or even downloaded the answers. I'm pretty sure that this was the whole life flashing before your eyes moment that others have spoken of during these occasions. I was so focused on the learning part that I do not recall seeing the original guide anymore. I remembered this place, this realm, and this light body. This is my home. This is where I originate from. This is where we all come from. Being in human form is just a short, temporary thing. In the span of time, I had many flashes come to me. I remembered that I've lived many lifetimes before, as I flashed through a bunch of them and recalled events, as well as the highs and lows within them. I knew that I had had many successes with other missions prior in other forms as well. I was also slightly saddened as I also remembered that I also had a few incomplete missions throughout time. I knew I was supposed to be learning to heal in this lifetime. I am in the Bryan body only right in this fraction of time now, and his job is to raise other people's vibrations in such a dark time. I'm here to help people heal somehow. I remember that I can absorb negative energy for the good. I remember that as a light body in this portion of the experience that I was in school for a time. I was learning at such a crazy pace. The school. Almost anything that I asked was being answered. Is this the Akashic Records? The thought crossed my mind. I remember flashes of being side by side at a desk with other spirit bodies that were also students. I remember being shown books, and I remember halls with long file cabinets full of history and subjects beyond comprehension. It felt like it was mere earth moments, yet it also felt like weeks in this realm. The worst part for me is that I cannot remember all of these school details now that I am back in my body. What do I need to do when I get back into my body? For example, as fast as lightning, sentences in the form of answers filled my soul. Water, aspirin, and citrus peels. What? I thought. Okay, what do I need to do to maintain my body when I get back to it, to stay alive? It told me, fasting, cut refined sugars, eat more fruit, no more soda, parasite cleanses, coconut oil, and more. I soon also remembered that the plane or frequency that I was currently on is not the only one. Another knowing set in, even deeper than before. I had learned that each plane has its own frequency, and I knew how somehow to navigate here. I can navigate in between some of them for now as a spirit. The knowing was growing inside of me. I realized I could increase my bandwidth even more somehow. What I mean is that I can ask many, many more questions at the same time as opposed to one at a time. And I did. The spirit brain that was asking all of the questions was now downloading at a megaterabytes pace as opposed to the single questions at the megabyte pace I started at. I was able to alter my focus and continue the questions, yet in a more subconscious sort of way. I didn't have to think. It was just happening, like your heart beating. It just happens naturally. I was now able to direct my attention to that new, higher plane. I instinctively knew now how to raise my vibration a bit more here. I knew there was something more that I had forgotten as my human form. The higher plane. I then chose to periscope through up to the next plane. I say periscope because I went up and broke through to a new layer, above to a new frequency. I was in another very, very, very familiar place. I could see much, much further, and everything was quite a bit brighter. There were far more colors, even ones I had never seen as Bryan. I could hear my guide say, "Good, good. You're remembering what you are, and you are relearning quickly. Good job, buddy. Keep going." It cheered me on. Although I could no longer see it, I knew my guide could still see me. Or at the very least, we were attached still somehow. The in-between. This is where things got super intense. It's hard to put into words, but here goes. In this vibration, plane, frequency, I could see every single soul that was in between life and death, all at once. And I could hear the human souls on earth that were dying or had just died. Some were even in comas, and even a few were stuck in between, and they didn't realize they were dead or dying. I could feel their vibrations, and I could hear their cries for guidance to their guides, God, even Mother Mary. How did I know how to see and hear them? I thought to myself. I wanted to know more. I remember a truck coming at me. Where am I? I could hear an Irish middle-aged man say in a panic, "Where is my wife, Laura? Honey, where are you? Laura, are you here?" I heard an old man's raspy, desperate voice, almost crying and quite scared. I remember swimming in the lake and my foot got stuck in the mud. What is this place? Where is my family? A terrified young Asian girl said in an accent. I shouldn't have taken all of those pills, but the pain was so hard to handle. I'm so sad, said a teenage Midwestern boy. I heard the anguish in his cries. Mommy? Daddy, where am I? Can you hear me? Where did you go? I remember a crash and blood and, said a small girl's voice, no older than 5. She was desperate for consolation. These are the ones that come to my mind's surface, but I was hearing thousands of cries for help come over me. Every age, sex, nationality, and accent you can imagine was flooding to me. It seemed like more than thousands. I can feel them. I can see them. I can hear them all. My first thought was, where are all of these people's guides like I had met mine when I came here? And then, as I asked, an answer came to me from my guide. Look up, the thought said, and I did. The helpers. Above me on this newer plane were much larger entities than the guide I had met upon coming here. These beings were almost angelic, but also of the same light as mine and my guide's light. We were all connected by the same light, all emanating this same loving light, all encompassed by this loving, wise, warm, vibrational light that each one of us has inside us. Yet these beings were more advanced, more pure, it seemed, a bit brighter, a bit wiser, a bit older too. They were the ones communicating to the poor people in between that I just spoke about, and they were frantically and yet calmly answering the questions of all of these individuals that were in the in-between the best that they could. You could sense they were compassionate and doing their best, yet you could tell they were struggling and could use some help, as if they were short-handed. They were calming the in-between people down, answering their cries, reassuring them, sending them love and light, good vibes, caring for them and assisting their souls for the next mission, or even giving them a chance to go back if needed. I feel that being an omnist, I could see them in their true form, and I understand how religious people of different faiths would see them as angels. In a sense they are, yet they are also not the typical description to me. The memory. In fact, to me, they looked like something from an Alex Gray painting. Beings of pure light and energy, interconnected. I was now reeling with a flood of memories. My spirit said, I know this place too. I used to be one of them for a time. I remember. I chose to be Bryan this time. I used to be one of these helpers, these guides. And just as that thought crossed my mind, one of the giant entities made eye contact with me. I immediately felt paranoid, like I was wandering around a closed mall and got caught trespassing by security. I quickly felt like, I'm not supposed to be here, am I? But such was not the case. This new first entity glared at me, surprised but not mad at all. Actually, sort of elated, also like an old friend that I had not seen in a while. It smiled at me and stopped counseling the in-betweeners that it was helping. It pointed at me, much like an old close friend would from across a dance floor. It stated, Bro, what the heck are you doing here right now? It's not your time yet. I replied, I know. Can you help me get back to my mission as Bryan? I replied in a slightly panicked yet telepathic tone. Old friends. Immediately, entity number one nudged the entity number two next to it, like literally elbowed him in the light body ribs, and it said, Hey, look who it is. It's our old buddy. It said a name that was not Bryan. It is not repeatable in English, not translatable nor utterable. But it captured my entire spiritual existence, and I knew it meant me. This second entity was very busy helping people in the in-between as well, and was picking up this first one's slack because number one had paused to talk to me. This second entity also felt like an old friend, and it also knew me immediately. It was showing me a look of shock on its face when it saw me. It said, Oh, no, not now. Now is not your time. You have too much to do. It also knew I had a mission. I know, I somehow agreed. I need to go back and do what I was supposed to do. Can you guys help an old friend out? I need to get back into my Bryan body. They could tell I was serious and that I needed help immediately. The gift. The second entity paused for a moment as if having an epiphany. It seemed a light bulb went off in its head, so to speak. It spoke clearly, sternly, and seriously back to me. Hey, wait. You knew this was going to happen. You told us to give you something if this exact scenario happened. You left something behind and told us to hold it for you. I'll be right back." As it hastily disappeared into a haze, off to a spiritual closet or something, for a few moments to retrieve what it had spoken of. The first entity on this plane wasted no time grilling me with questions. "So, how bad is it down there, bro?" it asked, like an old friend would start up a conversation as our wives went off to the washroom during dinner. I replied, "It's really bad, man. Evil is in power. People are suffering. Everything is polluted. The food is fake and poisonous. And the bad ones control everything. We need more help down there. Send more help." He replies, "You need to go back down there and wake up all of the others that you can. There are so many sleeping warriors down there already. They are a lot like you. There are many more already down there that can help you and us. You need to go back and turn this all around as soon as possible." And I agreed wholeheartedly, knowing what it meant by that statement. The return. The second entity suddenly reappeared, and he had what I would describe as something a little bigger than the size of a bowling ball, made of an intense violet, red, and white light. It was a fiery swirl of powerful energy. It said to me, "You told me to give this to you if you ever came back here too soon. You knew this was going to happen. You planned it." He threw this ball at me, fast and hard. I tried to catch it, but I had no arms in the spirit realm. Yet I felt it hit my soul right in the spirit chest, and that is the moment I opened my actual eyes, as Bryan again, back in my body. The male nurse that I had last seen as I had my stroke was rubbing his knuckles on my sternum. "Hey there, buddy. Do you know your name?" In my head, I repeated what entity number one had called me in the other realm, my soul's name. But my mouth said, "Bryan." Then he asked, "Do you know where you are?" I replied, "I better be in a hospital, sir. I feel awful." He laughed and said, "Good, good, you can talk. Good news and bad news, Bryan. You just had a stroke, but you were in the right place. We gave you a blood thinner and broke up the big clot. The bad news is that there are now 3 smaller clots. One is going to your heart, one to your brain, and the other one to your lungs. They are prepping the operating room right now." He had a big syringe in his hand and said, "This is the knockout juice. We are about to crack open your ribs and catch that clot before it gets to your heart and you die of a heart attack." The knowing returns. In an instant, I remembered a few chapters of what I had learned with my questions in the spirit realm. I put my hand on his as he slid the needle of the knockout juice into my IV line, thumb on the plunger. I sternly said, "No, do not give me that shot. I refuse. I know what I need to do. Take me to a private room immediately. I need a lot of water. I need a few aspirin, and all of the citrus fruit that you can bring me." His pupils dilated like someone who just got surprise scared. His hand was in mine, and it started shaking uncontrollably. I could see the hairs on his arm stand up straight. He looked at me bug-eyed and startled and said in a shaky voice, "I don't know why, but I believe you. Okay, buddy. Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, 100%. We have no time to waste. Please help me. I'll sign whatever you need. Just get me those 3 things." The miracle. I was wheeled to a private room, and within a few minutes I was surrounded by doctors and nurses and some lady in a business pantsuit making me sign responsibility release paperwork. The male nurse arrived again, now clearly out of breath, and brought me 2 pitchers of water, 4 aspirin, and a bowl of oranges and grapefruits, also a lemon and 2 limes. I crushed the aspirin with the pitcher right on the bed tray in front of me. I sprinkled the crushed aspirin with my hand into the water, sloshed it around, and chugged 80% of the water. I got to peeling the citrus fruits, but I didn't eat the fruit. I ate the peels. I woke up with an odd urge to eat citrus peels, lime, lemon, grapefruit, chewing them even though it was harsh and gross. Within minutes, doctors and nurses surrounded me as my heart monitor flatlined. They had the defibrillator machine ready when I instinctively started coughing. I felt a squish pop in my chest as if a clot entered my heart. Then another pop squish as it left. My heart restarted, leaving the staff stunned. When the surgeon asked how I knew what to do, I told him I had just learned it from somewhere. Maybe God. 3 days later, I left the hospital with only minor side effects. I followed my instincts with cleansing remedies and diet. And against medical advice, I moved to Texas soon after. The changes. Since then, my senses feel heightened. I know things. I avoid danger. I crave sunlight and grounding. I repel negativity. Karma seems to strike those who wrong me. My circle has grown small, but I feel called to help heal and awaken others. I believe we all have a mission, pieces of a larger puzzle. I share this hoping to connect with like-minded souls who understand these experiences. Closing reflection. Bryan's experience reveals something profound about the nature of reality. We are not our bodies. We are eternal spirits having temporary human experiences. We have lived countless lifetimes before this one, and we will live countless more. Bryan remembered that he chose to be Bryan in this lifetime. He chose his mission. Even if he can't fully remember all the details now, he even prepared for the possibility of dying too soon by leaving something behind with his spiritual guides to send him back. Think about that. Before you were born, you planned for contingencies. You knew the risks, and you came anyway. The entities Bryan met told him something critical. There are so many sleeping warriors down there already. You need to go back and wake them up. Maybe you're one of those warriors. Maybe that's why this story is resonating with you right now. Bryan's guides also revealed that the divine source, what we call God, appears differently to different people based on their beliefs and understanding Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Allah. All expressions of the same infinite loving consciousness. This isn't about religion. It's about remembering who we truly are. Bryan was given specific instructions to heal himself: water, aspirin, citrus peels. Against all medical advice, he followed the guidance he received in the spirit realm, and it worked. The doctors watched in stunned silence as he healed himself before their eyes. This shows us that we have more power than we realize. We have knowledge within us that goes beyond what we've learned in this lifetime. The question is, are you ready to wake up? Are you ready to remember your mission? Bryan came back to help people heal and raise their vibrations in a dark time. What did you come back to do? Thank you for listening to Bryan's near-death experience. If this story awakened something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because, according to Bryan's guides, we need all the help we can get. And you might be exactly the warrior they were talking about. The time to wake up is now.